Hey, it's Kathy from the Merrimack Public Library, and I am here today to show you how to make your own book. So what we'll be making is like a memo style little notepad, notebook, but you could definitely use it for bigger projects if you wanted to make your own journals. You're just adding more paper, and you'll see exactly where that happens in a little bit. So I am in the children's room, but don't let that deter you. I am only down here because it is a little bit more acceptable. We're a little bit more ready for a mess downstairs than upstairs, but this activity is for everyone. So I'm gonna move the camera down so that you can see everything that we're going to need. Well, that I have. It doesn't mean you need it. You'll need something to poke a hole with. I have this awl, which is going to be really good, but I'll also show you how to use scissors. You don't want to use a hole punch. I have a needle and some embroidery floss, and you could use embroidery floss. You could use dental floss. You could use thread. You could use like a skinny yarn or a twine. You can make whatever you have work, but we're looking for something that's a little bit more sturdy so that the paper doesn't sort of tear through it. Like a single piece of thread is not going to be strong enough to hold our book together. And then obviously I have some paper for the inside of my book. I'm using a plain white printer paper, just like the 8.5 by 11 size. You can use whatever paper you want. I will say we're going to be folding it this way. So if you use a lined paper, the lines will be running up and down across your page instead of going side to side. So if you want to use lined paper, you absolutely can, but the lines are not going to run horizontally. They'll be running vertically once you have your book open. And then the other thing that you're going to need is something to use for your cover. So I have already marbled this piece of cardstock so that my cover will be a little bit more sturdy. And I did this morning so that it had a chance to dry, but I'm going to show you how to marble your own paper at home with household items. In case you want to make your own marbled cover, you could also use wrapping paper or construction paper or like a piece of cardboard. You can use whatever you have on hand and whatever you want. But I thought that this is a good chance to talk about this technique, which is really easy and really fun. And the paper looks pretty cool. So we're gonna actually start by marbling paper. So I'm going to put my cover, my paper, my needle and thread, and my awl to the side. And I'm gonna show you how to marble some paper. So I have a piece of paper. I used cardstock, like I said, for the piece that's gonna be the book cover. I'm using some legal-sized printer paper for this one because I'm gonna actually use it as wrapping paper for my dad's birthday. The other things you're gonna need are some shaving cream, and then some food coloring, and something to put all of this in. So we have these big metal trays from our science experiments, so that's what I'm going to be using. But you could use a cookie sheet, you could put down a sheet of wax paper, you can use whatever you have on hand. And then I have this piece of plastic. I just cut it out of a plastic egg carton, but we'll need this for a couple different things. So we're going to start marbling our paper by laying down a good layer of shaving cream. So we're gonna just smooth it out. It doesn't have to be really thick. I would say, about between a 1/2 inch and 1/4 inch. But you want to make it pretty smooth, and you want it to be the size of the paper you're trying to cover, unless you want white space on the edges, which is also fine. Okay, so once we have our base layer of shaving cream, we're going to add some food coloring. And you'll also want like a tissue or a towel to just wipe your fingers off. So I'm going to use a couple shades of green and blue for this one. And I have no idea what this is gonna look like because you can never tell until it's sort of in progress. So you're just gonna add some food coloring, whatever colors, wherever you want. So you don't have to mimic me, but you can if you want to. And then once you are satisfied with the amount of food coloring that you have laid out on your shaving cream, you're going to grab, you can use the same plastic card, you could use a comb, you could use like the tail end of a paintbrush, anything, a pencil, anything that you have that you can sort of drag through the shaving cream. And you could make swirls, you can do lines. Again, you can make this look however you want. And you could add more color if you're not satisfied. I think I am gonna add a little bit more color. Not pink. That's not the color family I'm working with. And you'll see that you get these lighter lines and darker patches. And you can keep working with the shaving cream until you're totally satisfied with it. And once you are happy with what you have, you're gonna take your paper and just lay it down right over the shaving cream and then gently press it down. And the paper is going to get a little bit wet, but it dries pretty quickly. So you'll need to let it sit, but not for more than an hour or two. Because you're gonna see, you peel it up, and of course a bunch of shaving cream comes with it. So now we're going to just very gently scrape the extra shaving cream off and drop it back in our pan. And I'm trying to show you, but it's a little bit difficult without getting shaving cream all over the underside of my paper. So you're just gonna scrape down the paper carefully. Since the paper's wet, it will tear if you move too quickly. And I've done this using gift cards, using my library card. So really you can scrape it off with anything as long as you're careful. Anything that you have that you're willing to dye with food coloring anyways. So we'll keep scraping this off. Move that out of the way. And once you're satisfied that you have most of the shaving cream off, this is not a perfect job, but you can see that I have this beautiful marbled paper, and I can set it aside for it to dry. Okay, so I have wiped off my hands pretty well, moved our paper marbling station out of the way, and I'll clean that up later, and it is time to get into our book. So if you have marbled your paper and it is dry, congratulations. If you are using something else, construction paper, wrapping paper, leather, whatever you want to use, we are ready to get started. So I'm going to start by just folding my cover and moving that out of the way, and then we're going to pull in our clean paper. So like I said, I'm just using a regular printer paper, and I have, I think, 4 sheets here. Yeah, I have 4 sheets of paper here. You don't want to go too much thicker than that because you want to poke all your holes at the same time. So we have to get them lined up as precisely as we can, and then we're going to fold them. Yeah, that's pretty even. And then we're gonna just go into the crease a little bit. So I'm just gonna reinforce the fold with the handle of my awl. You could use the side of your nail, the handle of your scissors, whatever you have on hand. We're gonna open it back up, and we're going to just poke 3 holes. We don't want them right up at the edges because they'll tear out. So we're gonna go like an inch from each edge and then sort of right in the middle. And I will put some dots there so that you can see where I am going to make my holes. So you can see a hole about an inch in from each side and then right in the middle. And then you're gonna take whatever you're using to punch the hole, line it up, fold the paper over, and just twist gently until the hole is there. And then if you are using scissors, you can also do that. So I'm going to sort of pinch the paper right where I want the hole, and then you want to just do like the tiniest of little snips. So it's a very small cut. We don't want it to be too loose when we are trying to sew through the hole. So just a small hole in the middle. We'll do this one on the end as well. Be careful if you're trying it this way that you don't stab yourself in the palm. Okay, so I have my 3 holes. You could also use a hole punch if you absolutely have to, but you don't want to sort of cut the hole right through the page. You would want to sort of line up the very edge and just sort of like snip it so that there's just like a tiny sliver, like a crescent moon shape, not like a whole half circle or a whole entire hole. Okay. So our 3 holes are cut, punched, and we're going to move into the sewing. So I have already threaded my embroidery floss onto my needle so that you didn't have to see me struggle with it. You could use any needle you have and basically any string you have. Like I said, twine, dental floss, embroidery floss, or regular thread. We're going to start in our bottom hole and go from the inside of the book to the outside. And as we pull it through, we want to leave ourselves a nice long tail so that we have something to tie it off to. Now we're going to come from the outside in our middle hole. And then from the inside out in our top hole. So you can see I have like a halfway line on the inside and then a halfway line on the outside. Now we're going to come back through the middle, this time from the outside to the inside, and then out through the bottom from the inside to the outside. So now we have a whole line of thread on the inside and the outside. If you are using regular thread that's thinner, you should keep doing this. You should do this figure 8 at least 2 more times to make sure that it's really gonna hold together. If you're using something sturdier like I am, we can go ahead and just tie it off. So we are going to come back one more time through the middle hole to end it. whether that's after 1 figure 8 or after 3. You're going to end by coming back in the middle hole so that your needle ends up coming to the inside. And then we can snip it and tie it off. And I'm just going to use like a regular double knot. And then I'm going to just snip off my ends. So that is going to hold all of our pages together without tearing through the sides. You can see we now have a booklet. We have like a folio. And you could, if you wanted to turn this little memo book into a journal or something thicker, you could make more of these. I wouldn't do more than 4 or 5 pages for each individual one, but you could stack, you know, several in and then glue them into a binding to make more of a, like a journal. Okay, and now it's time to attach to the cover. You could, in theory, sew through the cover. You could include that paper when you were punching your holes and sewing, but that does not give as much protection as having this piece of paper just folded. By sewing the papers separately and then gluing it into the cover, it protects the thread right here, and it's going to take some wear off of our binding so that it's not going to fall apart. So now we're going to take some glue and we're just going to glue our paper into place. Okay, and then we're going to just make sure that this is lined up and press it down onto that first page. Make sure that the pages go all the way into the crease of the binding. There we go. We'll press down the front cover and then we'll flip it over and do the other cover as well. Okay. Again, just making sure that the paper's all the way into the crease of our cover sheet. And then we have our booklet. So I think I'm going to just label the front. So that I know which end is up. And here is our finished little scratch pad style memo book. Thank you for joining me for this video. I would love to see photos of your finished book. If you want to share them with us on Instagram, our Instagram is at MerrimackLibNH. Merrimack LIBNH. So make sure that you share your book photos if you are able to put one together. I'd love to see it. And keep an eye on our website, on our online calendar. We have a bunch of events going on this summer, so make sure you're staying in touch with us. And thanks for joining me. Bye.